Vroom, vroom.
Right, this is the ultimate cam follower. What we've done, you've seen on the lathe, we've machined in there, and this is the other little thing that I noticed on the 59 Formula Junior car. It had that ground away just there, which I think is to make sure that enough oil leaks out and goes onto the camshaft. So anyway, I've done the same thing. So this is the comparison. That is an Iskanderian one, which is lovely and thin. It's a lovely cam fuller, but we're keeping those for the Sebring Sprite. So Tanya's going to come down here now and close up on that screen. That's the Iskanderian one, 39. And this is one of our ones that we modified. John turned the inside out and we put that little bit there, right? So come back here, Tanya, because again, this is important. Right, so that's the Iskanderian one, and that's our one. It's a little bit less than the Iskanderian one. So that's 37, that's 40, and the standard one is 45. So anyway, we've only done that because I can remember it from the, you know, the Formula Junior engine. So that is what we're going to use in our car. We've also faced that on the surface grinder and polished it up so that it's got a nice finish. So there you are. I'm sure some people will say that ain't a good thing, but we'll see. Because I can remember the Formula Junior one, and then I can also remember machining some for somebody. They gave me the one and said, can you machine it? And I said, oh, that's the same as in a Formula Junior engine. So anyway, at least it's got a bit of history and we'll hope it's going to work. So that's that. So now, come over here, Tanya. We fitted the engine to the gearbox. We've been very careful with the gaskets because we don't want it to leak. We haven't done anything to the gearbox, but we checked the two main pieces in the gearbox that you have to tighten, and they're sometimes loose. But they weren't tight, I don't think. But anyway, we checked them, so that's good. We put the camshaft. We haven't put the twin circle camshaft in. We put the one circle camshaft in, which apparently was fitted to late Metros. So anyway, so that's the cam we got. And that's it really. We found one of the drop gears was a bit funny, so we changed that. Luckily, amongst my junk, I had a better one. So that's going to go on. And then one of the things we're going to have to look at very carefully, the fact that we've lowered all the block and we've taken some off the head, we've got to make sure we get the rockers proper so that they're, you know, in the right place. But we'll do a film about that when we get to that. Other than that, it's all going together lovely. We put a new oil pump because we had to have an oil pump because the earlier one. Right, so because we fitted a later camshaft, this was the drive from the early cam, which is a, you know, like that. And then the later one, which is not this pump but it's like this, has got a peg drive. So we've had to put a new oil pump on it, which is a good thing anyway. So that's the oil pump. The head is assembled. So that's it, it's going together. Soon we'll have it in the car and running, hopefully. But we've got a few little problems. We've got to sort the exhaust out because we still haven't got a silencer. So that's something we've got to do. And we've got the dead right paint for painting the engine when it's all done. Which again, one of our, was it one of our followers or was it old Brian that told us about that? No, it was Brian, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. The man who sold me the cylinder head recently told me about this. Now, really, we could mention the cylinder head, Tanya. We'll go around and look at that. Right, so Brian, who we made a bit of a film about, so you'll see him, but he's one of our followers, and he said, oh, I've got an original old stock Speedwell cylinder head, painted in the original colour, complete with carburetors, manifolds and balance pipe and Speedwell trumpets, and there it is. What a lovely bit. So anyway, I bought it off him. Now we're not going to put this on the car because we've got all that trouble of doing that. So what we thought was, if we use my setup, I would get it going with my setup, and then in the summer, when we've got nothing to do, which never happens, but it will, what we could do, we could take that head off and put this head off and see how much cleverer Speedwell were than me, or the other way round. So we might do that. So that's it, but what a lovely bit, eh? And what a good bloke. Had loads of experience with Mini Cooper S's. He's had loads of Mini Cooper S's. He's got a 1071 himself. He's got a Radford conversion one. And he's got, and he's got a 1960 like this, but a 60, which was a genuine Speedwell car. And he's got all the bills of it when the bloke took it and had it converted. And it had everything the Speedwell could do, and the money was ridiculous. I can't remember what he said now, but it was like £200 or £300, you know. So that's a lovely car. So he's obviously a dyed-in-the-wall Mini-Man, and we're lucky enough to buy that. He had these made, because the one on his car was so perished, so he had that balance pipe made, which is really, really good. So I'm knocked out with that, and I'm hoping that we'll fit it eventually and see what difference it makes. So that's it, really. Another shed racing bodge. The starter ring is all right, really, but in one place it's pretty badly worn. I'm sure it would never give any trouble, just there. But we're going to knock the starter ring off, which a lot of people say you can't do, because once you knocked it off, it isn't any good. Well, in my experience, it don't matter. So we've got a nice spacer underneath there, and we're going to knock the starter ring off, and then we're going to mark it, and we're going to move it round, because what happens is the starter ring gets warm, because the engine stops in that position more times than it stops anywhere else. So consequently it works more. So if we just move it round a bit, then we just start on a new bit, and it'll last for another 100,000 miles. So that is what I'm doing. And old John is going to hold it while I give it a whack. And then we'll warm the ring up like you do normally. But also, when we get it off, we can go around that with the old sander and just knock all the burrs off it. And then find it'll work lovely. Right, John? I'd like to know how old that chisel is. It came out of my dad's stuff, and he probably came out of somebody else's stuff. That could have been made by a blacksmith 150 years ago, we wouldn't know. But it's been in my toolbox all my life, and my dad had it before me, so there you are. Very useful. It's not sharp or anything, but it's good for knocking stuff off. So that'll all clean up nicely now. And then that has got all sorts of like nasty sharp edges on it, so we can go around just there. It's quite burred there. So if I grind that, John, am I going to take the mark off?
Where's our mark? Our mark is there. Let me mark it on the inside if you won't.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a really good story about starter motors. This is to make sure we don't put it back in the same place. But years ago, when I worked with Willie Griffiths, who was obviously a chief mechanic at Lotus, and he'd gone to Le Mans, and you weren't allowed, if a car didn't start, you weren't allowed to push it, or else that was it, you were disqualified. So what happened was, the starter motor had gone wrong on this Lotus Elite. Well, obviously, if they took the starter motor off and started reconditioning, they'd be in the pits for an hour. So anyway, what happened was, they got a bucket of water, and they put a new starter motor in the bucket of water. I don't know whether it was a bucket or a container of some description, but anyway, in the bottom of the bucket, in the water, was a brand new starter motor. So Willie Griffiths takes the starter motor off the Lotus Elite or whatever, I think it was the Lotus Elite, took the starter motor off, and he's holding it like that as if it's red hot, and he threw it in the bucket of water, and then he put his hand in the bucket of water and took the new starter motor out, walked over to the bench and pretended he did something to it, you know, so in other words it all looked proper, and then took it back and put it on the Lotus Elite, pressed the starter, and off it went. So that was quite a good tweak, that. Anyway, it fooled the officials, they didn't notice it. And if they did notice it, they turned a blind eye. But anyway, that's what they did, apparently. I think it's quite a good story, that. Something for us all to remember, because you never know, we might be at Le Mans and the starter motor might go wrong. And we just know what to do. Every one of those burrs could cause it, you know, when you press the starter, click, nothing happens. So we got rid of them. But if you get really close, Tanya, you can see that is worn that much, but then the starter motor goes into there. So it isn't that bad. But while we're at it, we might as well have a nice new bit like that, which is what we'll do. But we'll have to eat this up, obviously, to get it back. Can't bash it back. I mean, if you was worried about it coming loose, which I'm not worried at all, I suppose you could just put a little bit of MIG or something on it, but we won't. We just heat it up and put it back. So that's the next job, really. Have we got an oil silver in there, John?
No, I haven't seen. Well, them two aren't right. So.
Oh. Don't feel terrible though. That one's cleaning up nicely. In amongst the junk, I've got two clutch plates. Now that's the clutch plate that came out. Well, I'll tell you what, that don't look very grippy to me. Looks like it's made of wood almost. But in amongst the junk, we've got that one, which has got a load of metal in it, and look, you can see it's never even run in, so it's like brand new. So I think we'll put that one in it. And obviously we'll give it all a lovely clean. And then obviously check to make sure that goes onto there nicely, which it does. But we'll clean all that, obviously. Yeah, that's all right. Nothing wrong with that. So that'll get used. So that's it, really. So we're going to clean that up. I wonder if we got an oil seal in amongst our oil seals. I think we ought to look, John, don't you?
Yeah.
Just in case. And then we'll warm that up and drop that back on there. So you can have a little rest for a minute, Tanya. And we'll get ourselves organised to get that hot and drop it on there. I think it goes on that one. So what we need to do, we get our precious bits of stuff, like that. Right, John, we need to be really sure that we're putting this back. We're going to warm that up really hot, and you have to get it bloody hot. and then you have a pair of pliers and you drop it on there, and you must be able to drop it. You don't need to bang it or anything. It wants to go plop, and then it's all right. Good old mole grips. Can't beat mole grips. They've got to have mole written on them. So really, with that like that, we could lift that up a bit. There you go. Okay. There you go, look how wobbly that is.
No more.
No, it's cooled down now. No, look, that's still wobbly, look. Look at that. And that's how much that'll expand. That'll even turn a little bit if you wanted it to. Look at that, look. And then slowly as it cools down, that'll go as tight as tight. But if we were the slightest bit worried, we'd put a little bit of MIG just there or there, something like that. But that would be perfect. And now, when the starter motor flings in, it's going to fling in a new place. So, I reckon that'd be good. And as it happened, I didn't burn my hand because I was quick. We've more or less assembled the engine. I mean, we haven't put the head on for good yet, and because I'm still playing with the rockers. I looked at the rocker shaft that came out of the car, and that's just been stuck together to keep it for posterity. But it's got a lot of wear. I mean, real lot of wear. You run your hand down it and it's desperate. So I thought, well, we've got to get a new rocker shaft. And then I went in the shed and had a look through my junk, and I found this later set, which is in really good condition. The shaft is, you know, perfect. The only wear on the shaft is where the spring's been touching it. And I've weighed these rockers, and they're actually lighter. I don't know how good they are, but I don't think they give any trouble. I think they were fitted to the Metros or later cars. So anyway, we'll do that. My intention is to get a box, a proper wooden box, and put all the stuff that we take off this car in the wooden box. And we're going to label it up, original parts from this car, so that if I was to die, or whatever, and this car gets sold, all the original bits could go with it, and if anybody is desperate to put it back to original, then obviously they could. So I'll have the seat, because we'll put the Restore seat in it. We'll have all the little bits, like the rocker shaft. The rest of the engine's all backed as it was. If we decide to lower it, I thought I might buy a proper suspension, because then we could put the old suspension without modifying it in the box. So again, that could just go back. So that's it really. So that's how I'm going to keep all the original bits. But I think, depending on how it all looks when we put it together, I think we'll probably go with these. But you can't believe it, and I can hardly believe it. The very early cars, according to what you read, had magnesium gearboxes. Well, they must have been very rare. And I thought, well, I'm never going to get one of them. Well, we put the gearbox back on the engine. We checked the two bolts that come loose and made sure they're absolutely tight. There's two big nuts in there. So I said to John, lock them up like a loony and knock the tabs over. But anyway, so that's been done. But we're taking a chance on the gearbox, because I drove it up the road and it wasn't that bad. And it ain't never going to be good, because the sinkholes were never good. So we took a chance on that, so that's it. But then, over the weekend, I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, well, that gearbox looks a different colour. You know, that looks like an old magnesium wheel. So anyway, when old John came in this morning, I said to him, what do you think, John? He said, well, it does look different. Because if you look at the colour there, and look at the colour there, you can see that's aluminium, and that is the gearbox, which is black. So I said, well, I reckon that could be magnesium. And then John came up with this marvellous idea. We filed a bit of metal off of there. With a file, put a piece of paper underneath it, collected it, and then we set fire to it and it went up in a lovely blue, real serious flame. So that is a magnesium gearbox. And Tanya can take a picture of the numbers, because there might be a knowledgeable person out there who will say, oh yeah, those numbers match up or whatever. But even if they don't match up, I'm telling you, it's magnesium. That'd be interesting for someone to see. I'll put the engine number back with the 2 new rivets from Mini Spares. So that's all gone back nicely. And so that's good. Obviously we'll take that out when we spray it. I'll put some of the green paint on there. I just put it on with my thumb like that, just to see how good the colour is, and I'll tell you what, it's pretty good. And this is the paint that we bought. Paint Man. And apparently, they know exactly what you're talking about. And as I say, I mixed a bit up and it's gone on lovely. So when we finished it, we'll hang the engine up and we'll paint it like they did at Longbridge. So there we are. I took the filter off. Now if you could get a close-up, Tanya, of that number there and that number there. All that's gone together nicely. I've kept the original springs, and in amongst the junk, I've managed to find some inner valve springs, which probably came off of a Mini Cooper or something, because I have got a lot of early bits. I remember when I got involved with the first car, I went to see some bloke who had a pile of stuff and I bought it all off him. So that's how I got the Mini Cooper S head and the other head and loads and loads of stuff. And in amongst it I found them. So I cleaned them up, we're going to use them. We put our lightweight rockers in. And the other little tip, when we're mixing the bits up. So the minute you start mixing the bits up, they've got to run in. And what happens is, that gets a little pip on it. Because as it wears down, the hole in the middle lines up with that, and that stops it bedding in, or it beds in quickly and suddenly you've got big valve clearance. So I always knock that pip off. Get the old diamond file, which I buy these at the Model Engineering Exhibition. They do like a kit. And I don't know how I manage without them, because, get something a bit hard and you can do something with it, whereas it's a bit difficult normally. So anyway, so that's what we did there. And the other little tweak, which I didn't mention the other day, when I had the 59 Mini engine, obviously that's when I saw this trick of lighting the rockers, because that bit up there, it don't take and that bit down there is the bit that matters, and that is thick anyway, because it's, it don't go all the way down. But the other thing I noticed, they put a flat on there. Now, whether they put that flat on there to drain the oil out so that it wouldn't fill up with oil and be heavy, or whether they did that so that extra oil would go on the camshaft, I don't know. But I remember that very well, so that's what I've done. So that's another little thing I've done. So all these things might work, and they might not work. But, if they don't work, we'll tell you. So that's that. I've masked it up a little bit here and there, because when we do get this finished, we will literally spray the whole thing with green like they did at, Austin. And then that'll be done. And then we'll put that on the subframe, and then we'll put the subframe. We'll lift the car up and drop it on the engine and subframe into the car. So that's how we're going to do that. It's Monday morning, and it's nearly 9:45, so we're going to pick Mary up, who makes the tea usually, and looks at the emails and what have you, if we've had any. That's it, really, so far. So when I've sorted all this lot out, luckily I've got a whole set. So I'll clean them all up nicely, and they're made of iron, which strikes me as being funny, but it's a bit difficult using bits from that and bits from this. I think we'll keep this as one bit, because the thing that locates the rocker shaft is further down, and then I was worried about the oil getting to it, but it's still got the hole there in the back one, so the oil gets to it. So obviously when we start it up, we check all that carefully, because you know, that's a very important bit. So I remember years ago going to see Tom the Weld, and he was working with Charlie Lucas on Formula 3 cars when it was in its infancy. And he showed me a 105E Ford engine that obviously they use, and that these things that work the rockers, you know, that press on them, they were absolutely being red hot. You could see that they'd been red hot like they'd been in a bonfire, and they were working out a method of oiling them. So they were looking at it and thinking, oh, you know, we've got to get some more oil then. I don't know what they did actually, but he showed it to me and I remember. So, you know, it's quite obvious that that was to get oil. So we've got to make sure, I shall make sure before we do anything, that when we turn the engine over, we'll have a look at all the rockers and make sure oil's coming out of everywhere. Because you're relying on that oil to run down the rocker, the pushrod tube holes, onto the cam followers and then onto the camshaft. So it's very important that. So that's it really. John is putting the rest-all seat together, because when we got it, it was a little bit, the cushion wasn't right, and also the adjuster for adjusting it backwards and forwards, we made a new one of them. Luckily we had some of the bits, I think it was sort of broken off here somewhere, but we had that bit to copy, because obviously you lift it up, or you push it down, slide the seat forward, and it drops into those 4 dents. So, and this was a dead right bit of metal, the same as they use, which is a bit heavy really. I suppose we could drill some holes in it before we flash. But as I said before, we want to get this done. I mean, you can spend hours messing about with all these bits. Get the essential bits done. We can always go back. We can take bits off it and put more bits on it. And it's like the speedwell head. I don't want to fit the speedwell head initially, because I think it'd be nice to try my head, and you can see how simple. I mean, I didn't go mad. And if it makes a big difference, it makes you realise you don't have to go mad. And then in the summer, we'll put the speedwell head on it and see if it makes it go any better. I don't think it will, but we'll see. So this is going to be an interesting little car, really. You know, I mean, I'm very lucky to have got it, really. And having a magnesium gearbox is so flash. I'll be able to really show off with that. Oh, well, it's got a magnesium gearbox. So, and then because you'll all say, well, that's why it's faster, because it's lighter, but, you know, I can't put a magnesium gearbox in the other car, and I'm not going to put an aluminium one in this one, so we're going to have to put up that, folks. Well, we've decided that we're going to go, at the moment, with this more modern setup, because that's in really good condition, and the one that was on the car is totally worn out. And in amongst my bits, I had a set of these. I don't think they've got a particularly good reputation, but they're definitely lighter than the originals. But they've got this bit of wear just here, which they've all got, they've always got it. So when you adjust the valve clearance, it's very difficult if it's got this bit of wear. So we get the diamond file and we file it up. And then when we've got rid of it, we get the 40 grit emery paper that I bought from a man at Bewley. One of the Sunday traders came in and I bought a whole roll of it. God knows what it would have cost normally, but I didn't pay a fortune for it. So then we put it in and clean it up with that. And then when we've done that, we finish up with that. And then come with me, Tanya, and I'll show you how we polish it up. And then we give it, which will help it to bed in very quickly. take a bit of the friction away. But there's a thing here that I'd like to talk about. Years and years and years and years ago, I went to see this man, and he had a polishing machine like this, but a big one. A Canning, I think it was called, but it's 3 horsepower, big motor. And what happened was, he was polishing a knocker, you know, what you knock on the door and a letterbox. He was polishing it, and it got caught, and it went round and hit him in the eye and knocked his eye out. Ever since then, if I have a polish machine, I'll make those up. They're adjustable, so you undo that thing and you can slide them in and out. And if you see this one, you'll see there's a very little clearance. So there is a good chance, you may not be lucky, but if that went round and was going to come back and hit you in the face, there's a good chance that that would send it over there. And ever since then, I've done it, because he was a smashing bloke. I've only ever met him once. I went and did a bit of sandblasting for him, but he was a lovely bloke. He really was into everything, and he had a lovely building, and I'll tell you what. And it was such a tragedy that had hit him in the eye. So ever since then, I've done that. And even down at the face where Timothy is, and we've got a Canning 3-litre one, it's got something like that to avoid the thing being able to go around, stay on there and come off and hit you. Now these rockers, I think, were done with a funny kind of process. They press the metal or something. So I don't think they're super strong. So I think lightening them would probably be a mistake. And as they're already lighter than the originals, I thought, well, we just leave them. We'll space them so that they're in the middle of the valve. Whereas the one that was just catching it on the edge. So they've made that wide enough so they could just slash it together, and there was no chance of it going on the end of the valve. But we'll space it. I'll put it together initially, space it on top of the valve. So we're going to make tubes to go instead of having that spring. Probably need a couple of washers this side, the tube the right size, and get it in the middle. You know, so that'd be a good job. I don't think there's any point in lightening them for what we're doing. I have actually got some which are lightened, which we could go and have a look at actually. We'll go and do that, Tanya. Come with me. Engine. Because everything looks super duper duper. But I don't want to rob this engine and put it on the Mini, because, you know, it's nice to keep this complete. But when you feel the ports, it's all been ported. And those rockers are absolutely beautiful. So that is good stuff there. So, you know, that I remember my Formula Junior engine was like that. So this could be something special. I don't know what the numbers are on the head. I suppose I could look at that at some stage. But it does seem like a very, very good engine. And it's got an aluminium rocker cover. So, you never know, we might put that on the Mini, but I doubt it very much. That's the engine out of my A30, which was the spare engine, which was done by, I think they call themselves Performance Engines or something. Vintage and modern, I can't remember, but they did the engines for the A35s for that Academy series, which was a tragedy. It all went wrong, really. I think that could have been a really good thing to do. But I think the race at Goodwood mucked it up, really, because there's always a billionaire who has to win. And it put a lot of people off. So it's a bit of a shame, really, because I think that could have been a lot of fun. I think they got them going too good. I think a little bit less speed and lots of them, and, you know, we could have had some good racing, I think. But anyway, I don't know what will happen with that in the future. Cost me a fortune, but it ain't worth a fortune, so it's hard to lose money, you know, and I think I will lose a lot of money on that. But there we are. This is a door off of the red Mini, which has already been sprayed. We haven't touched the inside, and but we're not putting it on the car, because when we build the engine into the subframe, we're going to lift the car on to over the engine and the subframe all in one go. So the lighter we keep it, the better. And also doing the wiring and putting the carpets in it and all that. If it hasn't got any doors, it makes life so much easier, so we'll leave the doors off till the last. And then hopefully they still fit, but that's another story. Right, now this is going to be very close up in jobs, this is, Tanya. So I mustn't move. Right, this is the original stuff from the car. Now, the shaft was very badly worn, so obviously we need to get a new shaft. But then I really looked into this, and what I said, you remember when I said at one stage you must look at all the bits in your car, and as you take the bits and study it and what have you. So anyway, I studied this a bit, and what it is, these rockers have got an oil way, obviously to oil the main thing, but then they've got a little hole which starts in there and goes up to there. Now how it comes out there I don't know, because I've tried squirting stuff in there, it doesn't seem to come out. But what it does, it joins in with that bit there, if you're lucky, and then it comes down there and it comes out there. Now that's quite good, because when you buzz these cars, that friction on there is quite a lot. As I said earlier about the Formula Junior car, that was absolutely red hot. So that wants to be oiled. And then obviously you want it to run down there to oil that, and then run out of that hole where I put the slot and run onto the camshaft. So, providing you've got a really good oil pump and you can stand loose at a bit of pressure, coming out of there, running down there and keeping all that lot oiled, especially when you're buzzing it, is a very, very good thing. So then, we decided that the rocker shaft was very worn, so this took me into my container. I've got an old container with junk in, and in amongst that stuff there was some rockers from a much later car. I think they're probably Metro or something like that. So I decided, let's have a look at that and see whether the rocker shaft's any good. Well, looking at the rocker shaft, it's in really good condition. So there's no point in buying a new one if we've got this, but we can't use this rocker shaft with those rockers because it's slightly different, because it's got the thing in the middle and blah blah blah. Anyway, so now I start to look at these rockers, and they haven't got any method of oiling to there. So I'm looking at it thinking, well, that's funny, you know, not having any oiling to there, whereas that one has. Perhaps we ought to take the bits out of there and put it in there and then drill a hole. So then I start looking at it, and there is actually a hole exactly the same as them, going up there to there. But there's no way that that oil can get from there inside there, because it hasn't got a hole. So there's no, they don't do anything. They put a hole in there purely in case, I suppose. But it's no way that that oil can come up that hole and come out of there, because there isn't a hole. So then I look at it and I think, well, it'd be very nice, in fact I think essential, for the oil to run into there. But there's no thing. Now you can't put these bits, the adjusters, in here, because these are a different thread. This is like much, much later, obviously. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, now how can we get the oil to come up that thing, which is no problem, but come down there? Well, you can't really. So I've thought about it and thought about it and thought about it, and then I decided the way to do it. There's lots of thread in there, so we have got a chance to file the thread away. So I put that in there, and with the diamond file, I put a piece of tape on there, so that I don't go past the hole. Not that it wouldn't matter that much because the nut would probably seal it. So what I've done is I've filed a flat like that. So that when the oil comes up that thing and that is in position, the oil can run down the thread, upside down, run down the thread and do exactly what we want it to do. So what I did was, I put some good old 3-in-1 oil in there, like that. Put a finger each side, screwed that in, got the airline, now look, see the oil coming out that thread? Not a lot, but we don't want it to be flooding out. So now what's going to happen is the oil's going to go up that hole and come down that thread. I might relieve that a little bit more because I only fold it very quickly. Come out of there, run down the outside of there onto that ball and then run down the rock thing. So I think that could turn out to be a very good mod. These rockers apparently are made by some special method and they're not super strong, so I'm not going to light them in any way, but put them on the scales and they are actually lighter than the other pressed tin ones, so that's quite good. So we're going to get oil running down there, and then obviously when we get it running, I shall look at that and make sure that it's working nicely, but you know, it managed without it, so it's got to be better with it. I might elongate that hole in there very slightly to try and get a little bit, you know, a little bit more. But once it's doing, you know, 5,000 revs or whatever, all of that, and that nice polished bit on there, matching up with the valve nicely, that's the other thing. I put these on here, and they match up beautifully, whereas when I took it to bits, it was right on one side or right on the other side. But if you look at them, they're all in the middle, absolutely lovely. So then old John has made me up some spacers to go in there, so we don't have those springs. I've ground this original shaft down so that it's easy to work with. We can just push it in and out, so that we could work out what we wanted without having to make a drama of it. So they're going to go in there, that's going to go in there, and then when that goes on there, instead of having that spring, I shall just make a spacer up and make that so it's dead in the right place, and we haven't got that pushing against there. It'll just have a spacer on there, and probably, and then a washer like that and a split pin through it. So that's about how thick the washer needs to be. So that'll work nicely. The oil will run down there, that'll be good. And this is all a bit wobbly because obviously I've ground a lump off the shaft. On here, they fit quite nicely. So that's, you know, that's absolutely beautiful. So I think that's going to be quite successful, and it hasn't cost anything. All I've done is gone out the shed and found all that lot. So that's what we're going to do. The other thing they've done, instead of putting that fixing point there, they put it there. But this post is still drilled for oil to come up and down the shaft. So I shall make sure all that works nicely, and if I have to elongate the holes a little bit and move a little bit, I'll do it. Because, you know, when you start that engine up and you rev it, that wants to be oil, and it wants to run down the rock push rods. So that's it really. So the next thing I should do now is assemble all that properly, and then if they prove to be a little bit tight, then we can rub a little one, put them in the lathe and take them out. But I know old John's done a good job there. I'm sure that will just go together. So then all you got to do is make a spacer up for there, which is easy because even when it's bolted on you can do that, so that's no problem. So I reckon that's going to work, and obviously, the fact it's got a hole, you might as well use it. So we'll see, won't we, when we're going down the road, like pulling a few revs, we'll see. Susie's just arrived, probably got some good ideas, because she's always got an idea. Anyway, that's it. Yes. The cat has not been feeling too well. I think he's got a furball, so we've been giving him treatment. But he isn't his lively self. I mean, at one stage he'd been on the surface table here looking at what I'm doing, so we'll see how he is, but we won't not put him on the screen, because we all know you love him like we do. Years ago, when I worked at the London Sports Car Centre in Edgware, there was a bloke across the road, there was a couple of car dealers, and they used to clean the cars, you can't believe it, they used to look better than new, you know, they really knew what to do. And the old boy said to me, which is, again, you know, a bit of somebody telling me something, he always put new rubbers on the cam box, you know, to hold the cam box down. Because he reckoned that a nice new gasket and new ones of them, it made the valve clearance not sound as bad. You know, I mean, old cars always made a bit of a noise because they didn't have hydraulic tappets, but he reckoned that when that was all hard and really hard and horrible, all that would happen was it turned the metal box into like a sound box and it made it much more noisy. So anyway, after that, I always put new ones of them in. You know, that goes on that goes underneath there and onto the rocker box. And you don't screw them down like a loony. And the other thing I always do is, I always glue, before I ever get to really putting the car together, there, look, you know, I can't even move it. So I've glued it onto there really carefully so that when you tighten it down, it isn't going to move, because it's a horrible way it sits on there. Either drops inside or it drips up the other side. So that's a really good little tip, that. Glue that on like a loony. And then, when you screw it down, it goes down nicely and it never moves. And again, possibly, my old boy who told me about making it into a sound box, I don't know, might be true, might not, but it's a possibility. So doing what we do, I think is worthwhile. And the other thing that's happening, that we ought to make a film of, Tanya, is John attacking the rest all seat. This bit was missing, so we made that bit, but luckily we had a little bit of that to copy. But one of the problems was, it didn't have a spring, and old John's designed this, look. He put a spring in there, and located it on there, and of course it works like a charm, so that's good. But all of this lot was all hanging off it, and I paid a fortune for this. But what we're going to do what we normally do. We're just going to lash it together. Old John's put a tie wrap around there, look, and get it so that we can use it. And then if we tend to get carried away, we can always take this to a trimmer we know a really super bloke, and we take this and probably have it covered in red to match the rest of the car. Or you might even be able to get that proper material, but then again it wouldn't be original because no one would have got all that trouble in 1959. So having a little bit of a glossy old black vinyl thing on there is more original, so we'll probably leave that alone. All this works nicely. All that happens there, it's on a thread, look. And that goes like that, and that goes like that, and then that's screwed on there, and you can recline the seat. When I bought this on eBay, and the bidding was fierce, I tell you. But now our car's getting together with the magnesium gearbox, and we're going to have the lovely Speedwell wheels, which I'm going to get done in gold, and I'm going to go against all my principles as far as they're concerned, and we're going to take it to a firm that does alloy wheels, and we're going to get it done in gold, the best gold they've got. I want the brightest, I want it to look like they're 22 karat gold. Julian's going to supply us with the tyres, and so they're going to look good, and all we've got to do now is get the Speedwell bit that goes in the middle of them, and I know they advertise them on eBay, so I might buy some and see what they look like. But you know, it's got to look right when we do it. And of course, this bit actually slides on the carpet, whereas the original 59 seats, they don't slide. They've got a post that comes down, and then they've got a mechanism which they obviously cheapened up on the later cars. So what we're going to do, we're going to get a chopping board and put a couple of bits of, I can't think what they call that stuff. It's plastic, but it slides nicely. So we're going to rivet that to the carpet when we get the really good carpet. Because we haven't got any good carpet at the moment. But we got the name of a trimmer or somebody who can supply it, we think. So we're going to get onto them. But they shut on Monday, so we'll ring them up tomorrow. Because we can't put the heater in and the wiring in until we get that lovely bit of carpet that goes behind it all. And then you put the heater in, then you put the thing in. So we've got to get a bit of carpet to do that. So that's the next job, really. We've ordered new bits so we can adjust the suspension. So the ones we've bought, who were they, John?
Sorry?
The people who,
Summerfields.
who?
Summerfields.
Summerfields. They do a kit like this, but that screws in and it has a lock nut. Well, we could modify that, but I thought, well, you know, this is going to go in the box of original bits, so that we haven't altered it. So if anybody ever wants to put it back to original, and that could be us, we can take these bits out and put them back. So that's why we're going to buy new ones that can adjust. So really the car is coming on so good, I'm absolutely knocked out with it.
Can we speak on that, or does it not work? Just going to let everyone know that I'm doing all the work again. These are the new adjustable suspension parts, so you can wind that out or in, or the ride height of the car. They come from Summerford Mini. Yeah, it should be okay. Right, what we'll do, put the nuts in there. And we've got a tool that's used to compress these, so it screws in there, and then what it does, it collapses that in, which allows you to get those in and out.
We decided to put the radiator on before we put the engine in. But look at that rad, doesn't that look good? That was just a whisk from a distance with the sandblaster and a coat of black. But unfortunately, and this is before we got the car, that little plate's gone missing. So if anybody's got one of them little plates kicking about, we need one. But I've got one on the other car, so... But it was a bit of a drama to do all that. But anyway, I thought I'd just mention it. Right, so that's it. That's it. And luckily we put the little screws in so we haven't lost them, which is good for us. You can also get the bottom hose on, I think, John. I'm knocked out with the green. Brian told us where to get that. Where do we buy it, John?
Was it Summerford? Can't remember. No, it was...
Can't see it, but it's a dead right colour. It went a bit pickly on there, but we decided not to worry too much. But the rocker covers come up lovely, so I'm very pleased with that. Got the 4-bladed fan, and there we are. So what we intend to do is to put the rad on, get that all in there, and then John's going to push that under with his feet. If you look, it's skidding along on an old number plate and a bit of ply. We're going to skid it into position. The reason it's got the jack under it is because that has got a miss there. So we're going to lift it up a little bit more, and then we're going to skid it in, and then we're going to get the crane like that, and then lift it up into there. That's the theory. Whether it's going to work, of course, is another story. But
Man, paint is where you got the paint.
There you are, that's where we got the paint. And I've never managed to get the dead right colour. And I put a little bit on the dynamo, on the starter motor with my finger, and it matched better than the bodywork. I tell you, it's really good. And they are for the heater hoses. I don't know when I bought them, but obviously I did. And this is the cam that we've used. It's a 264T Evo cam. Works very well on the A+ Metro Turbo. Works well on MG Metro. Anyway, I don't know whether that will come out, but that's the cam we've used. Because I actually had it. I didn't go and buy it, I already had it. It's brand new though. Because my Sebring Sprite is supercharged, and I thought that cam might be suitable, but anyway, we'll put it in this and see how it goes. If it's no good, we'll take it out, but anyway, that's another angle really, because when we supercharge the A series in the Sebring, perhaps one of our people will tell us what cam to put in that. But anyway, we'll see, won't we? Yeah, so anyway, my clips that I've been keeping for years don't look like they're going to work, so it's going to finish up with Jubilee clips. But anyway, that's not the end of the world. But you never know, we might be able to put them on the heater one that goes on there. Oh, it looks like that might work. Yeah, so that's going to look authentic. So that's all right. Good?
Yeah, I think that's it like that.
It's in quite a way, I reckon that'd be all right. And we might be able to use that, you never know. So we got one for there?
No, I just thought we'd get it on, see where the thing is.
That one wants to come off, doesn't it? Right, this is it, folks. Engine in, hopefully.
Hold it there 1 sec.
I don't understand why we haven't got our loom. Tote that barge, lift that bow, you get a little drunk and you land in jail. Old Man River, Old Man River. Oh, he's off again. What do you reckon, Puss? What do you think? Look at the cat, look, he's meowing. What do you reckon? Do you want to go out? What do you think?
Go on. Go on. Go on.
Stop there. Yeah, well, it's in the hole, but it just feels like it needs a bit of a help, you know. I'm a great believer that when you've got an engine that's just been rebuilt, you don't start fitting funny carburetors on it, because you've got to jet it, you're revving it up, it won't tick over. You don't want to do that with an engine that you just rebuilt. So if you can, you put all the original stuff back, so when you start it up, it'll tick over, etc. Now we're waiting for a few bits from various people. We haven't got a top hose, because the one that Mini Spares sent us doesn't fit. So we've ordered another one, and there's various bits we're waiting for, but we'd like to hear the engine run. So we've done what I said, we've put the original carb back, because I'm a great believer in that. I've set the timing, so we're going to see how good I am at that, because it probably won't start, it'll be on the wrong cylinder or something. But anyway, we're going to press the starter. And we've wired it up temporary, we've hot wired the coil, we haven't got any water in it yet, but we'd like to just hear it run. We've whizzed it over on the starter motor with no plugs to get the oil pressure up, and we're now going to press the starter and see if it goes. Open the window, old boy. Very promising. It would seem I can time a car up. That's it, really.
It's alright, isn't it?
Yeah. So now, when we get the top hose, you can put some water in it, we'll run it for a bit, and then we'll change the oil. And I'm going to put the oil in that one of our followers suggested. And that's it. And we're a bit stuffed now, because we've ordered a new loom, and we haven't got it, and it goes in there. We've also ordered some carpets, which I don't think are going to be perfect, but it's going to get it on the road. If we want to get perfection, we'll find somebody who knows where to get perfection, and we'll get the carpets done. But I thought, let's get it done. So now we're waiting for the loom, the top hose. What else was it, John? The carpets. And there was one more thing that we ordered, and I can't remember what it was. But anyway, that's it. Well, when we get that, we'll put it back on its original wheels. We might even drive it, and then we'll start fitting the twin carburetors and what have you.